Hello, I'm William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and today I would like to take some time to share information about the high school program that's being developed and offered by the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. It's a rather complicated concept that we're working to make available and develop for Catholic students, particularly Catholic homeschool students, and for parents who are educated in modern society and who are looking at other homeschool programs and trying to make comparisons. It's going to be very difficult to understand what we're doing in the Academy with our high school program, and so I'd like to take some time and explain it all in detail so that you as a parent can understand exactly what the benefits are and how it's intended to work and how it can help your family. So bear with me as I get into the details of this high school program in this video, because I'd like to make it as easy to understand as I can, and yet at the same time I want you to realize that it's a complicated concept. I've been working in education full-time and in administration now for over 20 years. This, for me, this administrative stuff is pretty simple. But for most parents, they don't understand the behind-the-scenes stuff in educational administration, especially with curriculum development and things like that, with school curriculum and graduation requirements and all this kind of stuff. Usually parents are unfamiliar with how all of this works, and that leads them to make some mistakes in how they think about education when it's time to teach their own children. So I'd like to explain all of the thoughts behind the Academy's high school program in detail so you can understand clearly what we're doing, and then you can decide, with all the information, you can decide whether this is something that might help your family and be of interest to you or whether it's something for you to ignore. Now, the first problem that I'd like to address, and I want this to be really clear for you, and I want it to be always at the front of your thoughts as we talk about these high school studies. The problem is that homeschool families tend to penalize homeschool students. Homeschool parents have a bad habit when it comes to high school diplomas and transcripts and things like that. They have a bad habit of penalizing homeschool students. And let me explain what that means, because it's really important. When children are sent to school, and remember I was a high school teacher, so I can talk about this from detailed experience, and I'm also a homeschooling father. When kids are sent to school, everything that they do during the school day is credited to them as academic activity. If students attend a history class and the teacher plays a movie, it's counted as an hour of history study, even though all they've done is watch a movie. If a homeschool student watches a movie, same movie, it usually isn't recorded and the student gets no credit for it. The same is true of all books and all activities. When students in a modern school are taken on a field trip, and these field trips include trips to places like the local grocery store or a zoo, all of those students get academic credit for that day. Homeschool students do these things and get no credit for it. And this is how homeschool students often get penalized for homeschooling. They do many of the things, many more of the things that schools are giving credit to students for doing, and yet they get no credit. And then when it's time to put a transcript together or assess a student's work, the parents evaluate the students in a way that's completely different from how modern schools evaluate children. And again, this penalizes homeschool children. So I want you as a parent to think about that. Think about whether or not you are penalizing your children for being homeschooled and whether that's unfair to them and a source maybe of some of their discouragement or frustration as homeschool students. They're always looked at and talked about as if they're not doing what they should be doing, they're not doing enough, they're not getting work done, and yet their peers in school may be doing a fraction of what they're doing, and yet every time they lift a pencil, they're getting credit for it, and their transcript is filling out. So think about that first of all, whether you may be penalizing your children for being homeschooled by not giving them credit for all of the things that they do at home that are done in modern schools and for which students are given credit, academic credit. So think about that. Secondly, there's another way that homeschool students are penalized by homeschooling. In a modern school, let's think of a modern public school. In a modern school, all of the children, let's say all of the 9th grade students are sent to school. They go to school, they do what they do. Some students do well, some students do poorly, and they get different grades for what they do. Some of the students will fail because they'll do hardly anything that's given them to do. Now, the right thing to do would be to make the students who don't do the work repeat the grade and do it over again and continue until they do what they're supposed to do. But this is not what modern schools do. What modern schools do is simply create different levels. And so students who would fail, if there was one standard plan of study, all the students who would do poorly are simply put into a lower level and given a completely different set of objectives with a completely different and relative grading scale. So you've got the kids in the honors classes who are doing this or that. Usually they're doing the school's stated curriculum activities. They're usually the best kids with parents who are intimately involved in their studies, and they do well. They do what the school claims its students are going to do. But then the students who don't do it, they're given the opportunity to simply move down to a lower level. And so we have this development of different levels in modern schools. So now we have an honors class and a level 1 class. And what happens? The kids in the level 1 class go through their studies and they do their work, and we find the same problem. There are still a bunch of kids who will not do their work. So what do? Do they all get Fs now and repeat the grade? No, they don't. We simply make another level. And so now we've got honors, level 1 and level 2. And they have different objectives, different activities, different grading standards, and so on. And we've got multiple levels. And what happens at the end? What happens at the end of their high school years? They all get the same diploma. They all get the same diploma. They did not study the same course of studies. They did not face the same criteria. They did not complete the same work. And yet, when all is said and done, the student who is in the level 3 classes, who managed to get by with D's because the teachers just pushed him through, he gets the same diploma that the kids in the level 2 class got, that the kids in the level 1 class got, and that the kids in the honors class got. And this is what it means to have a high school diploma. It means very, very little. But what high schools like to do, and often what homeschool evaluators try to do, and you've got to make sure you don't allow them to do this, is they pretend that the high school diploma represents the work that's done by honors students in the local high school, and that's simply not true. The actual course of studies that's pursued by the college-bound honors students has nothing to do with the requirements for the high school diploma. Now, when we move to the homeschool environment, this again is where children get penalized, because homeschool parents imagine that the way to give their children a good education is by making their children complete the honors level type requirements just in order to get a high school diploma. And this really makes no sense. This is another way in which homeschool students are penalized. To get a homeschool diploma as a homeschool student often means that you need to do honors level work. And when students struggle, or you've got a bad kid who's acting up, rather than allowing that student to get his high school diploma because he's literate, he can hold a job, he understands how to function as a citizen in America, he's fulfilled all the objections of modern education and deserves a high school diploma. Often those kids get penalized by their parents, as if you need to be an honors student in order to get a diploma, and that's simply not true. So when I looked at the high school program, I wanted to put together a high school program that helps homeschool families. The first thing I did was say to myself, a high school diploma is not an honors level program. A high school diploma is a program where students simply fulfill the requirements of, or I should say the minimum requirements of modern high school diploma requirements. That's it. And that's all that it should be. And if we go beyond that, it has nothing to do with a high school diploma. And I think we need to avoid that. We need to separate these two things. We want our kids to have a great education. We want there to be high standards. We want our kids to have challenging studies. We want our kids to have a broad range of knowledge and skills. But that has nothing to do with a high school diploma. And we need to distinguish these two things. Now, when a student turns 18, all sorts of doors begin to open, and most of those doors will require a high school diploma. Therefore, it's important for us to give our children that high school diploma as soon as they meet the minimum requirements for that diploma. This has nothing to do with their intellectual or spiritual or social development. This has to do with modern high school diploma requirements, which are very, very low. Remember, the student who's in the level 2 or level 3 courses, who gets C's and D's in those courses, is going to get the high school diploma. And so any child who's doing what those students do should get a high school diploma. And I want to make it easy for homeschool families to complete the requirements of a modern high school diploma. So that's not a problem. Now, as I said, we've got two different sets of goals in education. One is to fulfill minimum requirements, and that's good. That's what the law requires of us. And we should have an efficient and affordable way to do that. We should have an efficient and affordable way to do that. It makes no sense to spend $50,000 to get your child a high school diploma. That makes no sense. A high school diploma should be obtainable at very little cost to the parents, and it should be relatively easy and efficient for the students. So when we talk about the diploma, we're talking about low standards, affordability, and efficiency. That's what a high school program should be as far as the high school diploma is concerned. Now, when we get into other questions like applying for college and pursuing professional aspirations, well, now we get into the discussion of mastery. And this is a completely separate discussion. We want to give our children the minimum requirements and lead them through those minimum requirements so that they can obtain a diploma, because they need a diploma to move on in their adult life as all of those 18-year-old doors open up. We want them to have that diploma. We want to give them an easy way to obtain a high school diploma. But at the same time, The high school transcript is something totally different if we intend for them to apply to college. And so we've got these two different things. We've got this minimum requirement diploma that we need to take care of, but then we've also got this transcript that's going to be a part of, let's say, a college application. That transcript needs to manifest a broad range of studies, the most challenging course of studies available, and it needs to demonstrate mastery of those college prep type subjects that would be necessary for admission to a selective college or university. So we've got two different things to work on. The transcript, where we should have breadth and depth and mastery and so on. And the diploma, which is really relatively simple and should simply fulfill or be a sign of the fulfillment of modern requirements, which are very low. So these two different things. Now, where I think modern parents mess up is they have anxiety about high school diploma. So they're concerned that their children get a diploma, and they're saying, well, we're homeschooling, and while we would like to do this and this, we'd love for the kids to study that and that, we really have to make sure they get a diploma. And so what they look for, and this is the mistake that they make, and you can see why parents do this, but I think it's a mistake. What they do is look for the most challenging high school program they can find, and they make the high school diploma now subject to the completion of a challenging high school program, and that makes no sense. That's where I think they err, because the challenge of the high school program should not be linked to the diploma. These are two completely separate concerns. So what they do is they choose a very difficult, challenging high school program to try to implement at home, and they find it's overwhelming, it's not possible to manage it, and they either lower the standards or they lie about their accomplishments just to get through this program and get to this diploma, and they completely neglect real studies because they've chosen to go all in on the high school diploma, and they don't have a plan to accomplish both of these objectives, to give their children a high school diploma and also to pursue the best course of study possible. Their plan tries to marry these two things, and they don't belong together. They don't go together. They're like oil and water. We've got to keep them separate and have, what on our side as the parents and teachers looks like a rather complicated project, but for the students is something very simple. We need to make it as user-friendly for the kids as we can. And the adults can talk about things behind the scenes, but we want something that's simple for the kids but accomplishes both of these objectives. And when we try to marry the two together, all we end up doing is moving towards the side of the high school diploma. And we can't do that. We need to learn to stop doing that. Now, in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, we're working to restore classical Catholic education, real classical Catholic education. And anyone who comes into the academy and looks at the core courses, the Latin and grammar and reasoning and rhetoric and arithmetic courses, they know that this is some challenging stuff. This is a whole different world. We want kids to be able to pursue those studies, real classical Catholic studies that have nothing to do with their high school diploma, may have nothing to do with future jobs or college admission, but are courses that are good for them intellectually as Catholics. I would even argue are necessary for them as Catholics. We want them to pursue those things. But at the same time, we want to get them their high school diploma. So we created this high school diploma program for this purpose, just to give the students the opportunity to earn a high school diploma in the most affordable and efficient way possible. So this is to be considered a completely separate program in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy from our normal classical Catholic curriculum. So what I'd like to do is share my screen and kind of walk you through the study center to help you understand how this works and how you should think about it as a homeschooling parent. So let me share my screen and we'll take a look at this together. All right, so here up on the screen you can see the Academy Study Center. And if you come to this study center and create an account as a parent, log in, you can scroll down and see our whole curriculum. You can see all of our courses. You see trivium courses. These are all classical study courses. They have nothing to do with a modern high school diploma, way above and beyond the requirements of a high school diploma. And yet this is the classical Catholic curriculum, which we want kids to be introduced to and get working on while they're young. Secondly, we've got the quadrivium, which is the classical mathematics courses. Again, these have nothing to do with modern high school requirements, and yet these are real philosophical mathematics studies that we want Catholic kids to get into when they're young and at home as homeschool students. Then we've got philosophy courses, which again have nothing to do with high school studies. And then, of course, we've got theology, which has nothing to do with the modern high school diploma requirements. So all of these courses are courses that belong to the classical Catholic curriculum and are very important for Catholic students to study, but none of them are included in the requirements of a high school diploma. And we want to keep all of this stuff on the kids' radar and on the table for them. We don't want to have to choose between this and a diploma program. That's what I mentioned before. Many parents choose to just go for the diploma program and abandon all of these essential Catholic studies. You know, we see a program like Seton Homeschool, which doesn't offer any of these classical courses which throughout Catholic history were considered essential, non-negotiables. They offer none of these courses because they're serving the high school diploma, which doesn't make any sense. We don't want to make that decision. We want to say, let's keep both on the table. Our students in the Academy have the opportunity to work through these challenging classical Catholic courses at their own pace. Everything they do is recorded, all their progress is recorded, and so on. We want them to be able to continue to do that. The standard is mastery, and we want to keep it that way because this is their philosophical and theological education. You can't get a D in philosophy and move on. You can't get a D in theology and move on. We want mastery in these courses. These are important courses for life. These are important subjects. The high school diploma program is something completely different, and we want to make sure we keep it as something completely different. So our students are able to go through these challenging courses, real classical Catholic studies. They're able to pursue mastery in them. They're able to work at their own pace. They can start these courses when they're 8 years old and work on them all the way through their high school years of study and beyond. They can study these courses for the rest of their lives. But when they hit 14, 15 years old, we've got to get them a high school diploma. And in order to do that, we've created a completely separate program. And that's what I want you to understand. So if we scroll down here, down past all of these classical Catholic courses, we get all the way down to this section at the bottom of the study center where you see a separate program is posted. It's the high school diploma program. And you can see that there are a set of courses, 20 courses, that simply serve the requirements of a high school diploma. There are 5 basic subject areas. And if you look on here, I trust you can read these, you see freshman English, freshman Latin, freshman history, freshman math, and freshman science. Those are the 5 core subjects of the high school diploma requirements. They're treated as separate courses in the academy, and these courses here are designed only for high school diploma requirements. So the standards are lower, the content is simplified and spread out, because this is for a high school diploma. It's not for real classical Catholic studies. We're not going to call it classical education. The standards are not the same. We're not asking the kids to pursue mastery in these courses. We're not asking them to do all the memory work and exercises and things like that, because those are not necessary for a high school diploma. These courses allow the students to complete a high school diploma and just get all of that anxiety out of their head, so that ideally, with the additional time that they have available, they can devote themselves to classical Catholic studies and pursue mastery at their own pace in addition to these things. Now you can see, as of today, we just started this program last summer. And so this past year, I worked to publish the freshman level courses. And you can see the freshman level courses here are available for enrollment. As of today, actually this morning, all of those courses are finished. All of the content, all of the assessments are published, and students can work through those 5 freshman level courses starting now, and they can just work through it throughout the year. So the freshman level of courses are complete, and a number of students have worked through them with me through the years, and they're wrapping up the freshman level. They're going to be heading into the sophomore level, and this upcoming year, again, beginning today, I'm going to be publishing the content for the sophomore level courses. So we're just going to continue into the second year this year in 2023-2024. But students are welcome to get into the freshman level course, and the whole entire year of studies are laid out for them to work through. Now, it's not easy, and even though I've lowered the standards to create this high school diploma program, it's still probably more challenging than a modern high school program, but mastery is not required. So the students don't need to get 100% on a quiz or a 90% on an assignment to pass. The passing standard is lowered to 75%, so they can move along more easily. So that's one thing. Now, over the next 3 years, I'll, God willing, finish this entire program, and we'll have a standalone high school diploma program that's designed for Catholic homeschool students who are seeking a classical Catholic education, imitating the saints and wise men of history, pursuing those same studies, but also fulfilling their obligations to modern compulsory education laws. I like to think of Jesus' words when he says, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." I like to take that and use it as a principle for Catholic education. We need to give to Caesar what is Caesar's. The state requires things of us, and we need to give Caesar what he requires. What he requires is relatively little, and we need to give him relatively little. It's just like taxes. If the government says you only need to pay this much in tax, you don't get a reward for paying a lot more. And this is what many schools and homeschool families do. They, in the name of pursuing a high school diploma, they do 3 times what's required, and there's no reward for that. It makes no sense. And yet they're tethered to the high school diploma, which has nothing to do with those studies. If Caesar asks us to give him $100 for our annual tax payment, there's no reason to give him 400 and think you're doing better than others. You simply give him the 100 that he asks for. And so when it comes to the high school diploma with compulsory education laws, Caesar asks us to give relatively little. And we need to do that. We need to give Caesar what he asks. And the goal in that is that we can save all of our time and energy in order to give to God what is God's. Because God's requirements for our education are not limited to those things in the high school diploma. God goes far above and beyond these studies in what he asks of us for the actual development of our soul through our classical Catholic education. So we want to give to Caesar what is Caesar's and no more, and we want to give to God what is God's and no less. That's the goal of our curriculum with respect both to the classical curriculum and to the high school diploma program. So you can just see the students can just work through these courses and complete the 5 major subject areas at their own pace throughout the calendar year. So even though the courses are broken down to serve a modern academic calendar, because that's how the high school credits are determined, and I'll explain that in a bit. Because it's all available online, students can work through this year-round and just get all of their grade level studies complete and finish these high school diploma courses. Now, let's take a quick look at one of these courses. Let's take a look at freshman English here. What you can see is I've divided the course, and this may be intimidating at first, but it makes things simple for the students, which is my goal. If I scroll down here, you'll see that there are actually 180 days. Keep going and going down here. You can see that there are 180 days of activities here for freshman English, and it's a combination of 3 different subjects, actually. It's a study of English grammar using the content from our classical grammar course, so it's English grammar. It's English composition using the content from our English composition course, and it's English literature. So it's grammar, composition, and literature all together in this freshman English course. And we provide 180 days of activity for the students to allow them to fulfill the requirements of high school studies. Now, here's another point that most homeschool parents don't understand. A high school course on a high school transcript is equivalent to 1 credit. 1 credit. And most homeschool parents don't know what that means. What is 1 credit? When we're talking about high school transcripts and high school requirements, 1 credit on a high school transcript is equal to 120 hours of class and study time. So 1 credit equals 120 hours. And in a normal academic calendar, there are 180 school days, 36 weeks of 5 days. That's 180 days. And the classes usually meet for 40 minutes or so for 180 days. In some schools, they use block scheduling where they meet every other day for twice as much time, but it's the same thing. 40 minutes a day for 180 days makes for a total of 120 hours of instructional time, which is 1 high school credit. That's a high school course on a transcript. So when you see that we provide 180 days of activity, you can expect that if a child devotes 45 minutes to each day of activities and does so consistently through the year, he'll complete all of this and have completed 120 hours of study and have earned 1 credit for this subject on his high school transcript. That's the goal. It's that simple to manage. You simply know that if you put in 40 minutes of work for 180 days, you've completed 120 hours of study time and have completed 1 credit of a high school subject. So that's how this course is designed to work. Now, some students may struggle with this, but they don't have to get 100% in order to pass a lesson. They simply need to pass. And to pass these quizzes, students need 75% scores. So you don't have to perfect the quizzes or perfect the assignments to complete the high school requirements, as you do in our regular courses where we demand mastery. So these courses are intended to serve students who put in 40 minutes to an hour on these subjects, and there's only 5 subjects. So even if you put in an hour for each subject, English, Latin, math, science, and history, it would only be a 5-hour school day. And by the end of the year, 180 days, you would have fulfilled all the requirements for high school study just by working through this day by day. So that's how the high school diploma program works. It's very simple. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign into an account here. I'm actually going to find one of my sons and sort of barge into his privacy, which he won't mind because this is just schoolwork. But what I'm going to do is look over here and see if I can find one of my boys who's been working in these courses. If not, I'm just going to look him up, see if he's been online today. No, I'm going to look him up real quick. So just let me find a student account. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to hit pause and I'll be back in a second. All right, so here I'm signed into my son Samuel's account on the Study Center, and we can see his status for freshman English. Now, you can see all the days are laid out here for him, and as we scroll down through, you'll see day 1, he's got all of these things marked complete. Day 2, complete, and we can just scroll through here, and you can see that he's just worked day by day and completed all of these activities. Now, if you've never been in our program before, you'll see here he's got one of these activities is marked green, but the other is not. That's because he didn't receive a passing score for that activity. He submitted the assignment and got a score, but it wasn't very good, so he is encouraged to go back and redo that assignment and improve it and resubmit it. So sometimes you'll see a green bar missing. But for all of these tasks where you see all of the green bars, those are days where he's got all of those tasks complete. So you can see how simple it is for the students just to work through this one day at a time and get these activities finished. Gives the kids peace of mind because it makes things very simple for them. But that's not the best part. The best part is that the kids have access to their grades in this course 24/7. So for example, my son, in this course, he could simply click on the grades link over here in the Study Center, and it will open up his grade book for this course. And so you can see scrolling down here all of his grades for the course, all of the different activities. Activities that aren't finished yet are blank, but everything else that he's completed, all of his grades are here for him to see. And this is all real time. There's no waiting for report cards or progress reports or anything like that. Parents can look and see exactly what's going on as of today. And like I said, there's no need for all of this report card nonsense and progress reports because parents and students have access to their grades real time up to the minute. What's cool about this, though, you can see all of these A's, which are great, but here, for example, you can see an assignment that he didn't do so well on. For Homer's Iliad, Book 7, the reading questions, he didn't do well. He submitted them, got a passing score of 75%, but there's more work to do to really make that assignment a quality assignment. So the good thing is if Samuel gets some free time, or over the summer after the school year, he can go back and look through his grade book, find his low grades, and resubmit those assignments or redo those quizzes. So he could simply click on this assignment here that he got a lower score on. He can click on that, reopen it, improve it, and resubmit it and raise his grade. And he can do that the entire time he continues to study. So all of the students' grades are in their control. There's no reason why a student can't finish with straight A's, even though this is irrelevant. But they can go through here and control their grades and constantly raise their scores, see what's going on. Parents can look and see what's going on, and so on. So it gives everyone a very clear view of where things are throughout the high school years and makes it very simple. And as I said, gets rid of all of the anxiety about transcripts and diplomas and this. It just makes it very, very simple. So all of that's available. And again, That's what a course looks like for a student. You can see up here there's a student forum. So if students have any questions or they need help, they can just post questions on this forum and get help that they need. And you can also see that there's an announcements board where if there's anything that I need to share with the students, I post that on the announcements board. And anyone enrolled in this course will get notified by email. So that's how I communicate with the students in these courses. And that's freshman English. You can see how simple it is. All the study materials are right here. The students don't need any other books. Parents don't need to buy books or study materials. For example, day 1, they start in English composition. They click on this link and it opens up their textbook. Here's the composition textbook. Here's lesson 1. All they need to do is read this section right here, study that, and then complete the assignment. They click on the assignment link. Here are the questions for the assignment. They go down here and there's a link down here for the students to submit their answers. They submit their answers. Those answers come into us. We grade them. The scores go right into the grade book. The kids get a notification. You can see there's a little notification bell up here. Kids get a notification when things are graded for them, and they keep moving forward. It's very, very simple, and that's the goal of this high school program. So very simple, easy to manage, and it takes care of these high school courses. Now, you may be wondering, well, what do we do in the end? Like, how do we make a transcript? How do we put a transcript together? Well, it's very simple, and I'd like to show you a sample. This is a sample homeschool transcript that we make available to families who use our program. It's designed for you as a homeschool parent to complete with all of your own homeschool information. So it's all ready as a template. But you can see just how simple this is. So on the transcript, let's say we're looking at freshman year. It's just the 5 subjects: English, Latin, history, math, and science, and the grade. You can see 1 credit. That means 120 hours, which the course is designed to provide, and the grade. And you can simply pull that grade from the student's grade book. So you can see here for my son Samuel, if I scroll down, this is his grade book. If I go down to freshman English right here, you can see his overall grade is 98%. So it's an A. So it's that simple. If you look at his 5 high school courses here, 98 in English, 93 in Latin, 99 in history, 99 in math, and 98 in science. Those are your grades right there, and you can just pull those grades and insert them in the transcript and be done with it. And then once all the grades are added, you can calculate the GPA. You can add up the credits that are gained through, all of the work of the transcript is done as long as the students just work through these high school courses on the study center. So it's very, very simple to manage the program, and it's very simple to prepare transcripts when the kids are done. And that's all you need to do. Now, we don't want our students to have their transcript limited to these minimum requirements. So the minimum requirements allow us to provide this here, which you see is just the basic high school transcript. So 5 subject areas at each grade level gives us a basic transcript that will satisfy just about any college admissions department. That's lowest requirements. We really don't care about that. Our students who take these high school courses should have their transcript look just like that, and they should have straight A's because their grades are in their control. So there's no excuse for why students using our program wouldn't have straight A's on their high school transcript for their high school courses. It's that simple. But we want our students, as every selective college wants their students, we want our students to go above and beyond this minimum requirements basic high school program. We want them to go beyond it. And what we can do, fortunately, because we have all these other courses in the study center, is we can simply add to their transcript other courses that they've worked through and completed during their homeschool year. So here, for example, you can see I can add a section to the transcript outside of the normal high school program and outside of this 4-year division I can add these extra courses. For example, classical studies. I can say my child, in addition to the high school program, has also studied Greek reading. He's also studied classical rhetoric and classical arithmetic. He's also studied the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And so we can simply add advanced courses to the transcript when the time comes. Students can work through these courses at their own pace throughout their school years as homeschool students, and then we simply collect all of that information, all their progress that's been made, and add it to the high school transcript at the end. And this fulfills what the most selective colleges and universities are asking for. Right up front, they want to see that students have completed all of the standard requirements of a high school program. But in addition to that, they want to see that students have gone above and beyond that and have sought the most challenging course of studies available to them. This simple program that we've established makes that as easy as can be. Now, that should give you an idea of how the whole high school program works within the context of all of our other courses, which students are free to work on 24 hours a day, year-round, for their entire life. But the best thing about this is because of the way that we've developed it, because of how careful we've been to actually try and solve the problems that homeschool parents face. And remember, we're homeschool parents ourselves, raising 10 children, so we know what it's like to try to do these things with a bunch of children, the costs of all of these things, and so on. We've made this affordable for every Catholic family. To have a child enrolled in our whole program with access to all of those classical and Catholic courses and this whole high school program costs only $25 a month. And that may sound crazy. And parents call us and they say, okay, well, I see that there's like an enrollment fee, there's a subscription. So what do the study materials cost? What do the courses cost? And we tell, no, that's the cost. That's it. It's $25 a month. And we can offer it for that price because we've put all of the study materials in the system. So no books need to be purchased. No study materials need to be purchased. There's no other courses that need to be purchased. No other services are necessary for someone who simply wants to study through our courses. The student plan, which is what you're looking at here, if you go to the home page of the study center and scroll down, you'll see student plan enrollment. That's all you need for these courses. The student plan, right here you can see, it's a subscription that costs $25 per month. That's it. That's all it costs. You see there's another enrollment option, the premium student plan. That simply adds tutorial help for students who are working through the program. That's an option. Not necessary. It's an option. Still very affordable, but it's optional. And you can read about the premium student plan. If you go to the study center, if you're interested in these, if you go to the study center, just click on this link to the premium student plan and it will take you to the information page. And if you scroll down here, you'll see all of the benefits that are available with this premium student plan. And you see it's a $100 a month subscription, but that's an extra service. That's the premium student plan. What's required for studies is simply the student plan for $25 a month. A very affordable, simple subscription. And that's the only cost that there is to use everything that I've showed you in this video. It costs $25 a month to give your children a classical Catholic education with all of these resources, including a whole high school diploma program that can prepare them for everything they need for a high school diploma and transcript. It's available for the cost of the student plan. It's really that simple. And as I said, the goal of this program was to make high school diploma requirements efficient for the students and affordable for the parents. And you can see that by doing things the way that we've done them and making use of the technology that's available to us, we've been able to do that at a ridiculously low price. Now, as I said, Parents can add to that. They can upgrade to a premium student plan. Parents can say, well, I'd really like to have printed books. And so they can just very easily, if you look at that course I was at before, Freshman English, let me just show you this real quick. Bear with me. If you just go back to that Freshman English course and open up that first lesson, like I said, the book opens up that you need, you can just scroll back to the beginning of this book, and you can see that the book we use for English composition is titled Composition Rhetoric by Stratton Brooks. Here's all the information for the book. You can either print that book on demand and have a copy prepared and shipped to you, or you can find a copy in print, or you can just print out pages as necessary for the kids to work on and allow them to study offline. So if you want to do more, if you want to have a copy of the book, or if you want to have the kids study offline, you can do so. You can see the book we use, and whatever you want to do as a parent is fine. All that we recommend is that you have the children submit their work so that we can record it. The easiest way to do that is through these assignments, but even there, if you wanted to just take these questions and have the child copy them onto notebook paper, answer them and submit them, you could do that if you wanted to. You would only be able to do that with a premium student plan, because you can just imagine that if we want to send an assignment back to a student and have them read, you're getting into some extra work. But if the student's just going to use our system, submit assignments here, and make it that simple, it costs $25 per month for all of this, for all of our courses, not just the high school program, for everything. $25 a month. I don't think you're going to beat that anywhere. But at the same time, parents who want more or who want to do things a little differently, they can do that. So it's not this rigid all or nothing decision that needs to be made. It's very flexible. It sort of puts all of those decisions in the parents' control where they belong, and we make the most affordable option available on our side and leave those other issues up to parents. My children, for example, do both. They work online and offline. So we do that ourselves, and most families probably do that to some degree. But at the same time, students can work at their own pace and just move through these things with everything they need right in front of them. They've got access to all their grades, all their courses, all the time. You can see here they have a dashboard page on the study center that shows their progress in all their courses. You can see all of their courses listed here in their progress. It's a very simple system to use, and it's very affordable. And we've worked to not just make another program available to Catholic homeschool families, but to solve the problems that we face in homeschooling. Take away the anxiety, take away the confusion, take away the complexity, take away the ridiculous costs of homeschooling. What other programs charge it just doesn't make any sense. It's like private school tuition, and you're the parent doing all the work yourself at home. It doesn't make any sense that homeschooling should be expensive. And we've set things up to eliminate all of that trouble, make it affordable and efficient. All of your records are kept for you. You don't need to do any grading. You don't need to keep your own records. You don't need to plan lessons. It's all done already. So I hope that makes everything clear. I'm pretty sure it does, but I hope that's clear. If you've got any questions about this, there's a couple things you could do. You could just get in touch if you've got some questions. But we offer a free trial. So if you go to the Study Center, and the address is just classicalliberalarts.com/study. If you go to the Study Center and look at this information on how to enroll, you can see right at the top there's a free 30-day trial. So you can create all the student accounts you want, including one for yourself. You can access any of our courses by just following the instructions for how to activate a free 30-day trial. Check everything out. Most of your questions would be answered by doing that. And then when you're ready to enroll, we just need to make a couple changes to move you from the free trial to an active enrollment plan. And that's it. You're off and running. It costs nothing to create an account for a child, so you can get all of your children started with the free trial. and get your first month in. Figure out how to manage things, adjust your schedule, get organized, and then as that trial ends, you can start your subscriptions for enrollment and just continue studying. So if you've got a question, feel free to contact us. If you just want to go ahead and dive in and check things out, you can do that at no cost. The other option for you as a parent, if you look again on this homepage, you'll see over here on the right, you won't see as much information as I do because I'm the admin, but you'll see over here a link to the forums. If you click on this link, these are forums for parents in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. So if you'd like to meet other parents using the program, ask questions, discuss homeschooling stuff, any of these subjects, just join us in these forums. The address here is just classicalliberarts.com/parents. And so we just started these forums up a couple weeks ago, maybe not even that long. So discussions are just getting rolling here, but this is a place where parents can come and post any questions they have, talk to other parents who've been using our program for years. There are parents on here that have already had kids go through our program, graduate, move on to college or religious vocations, whatever. You can get to know other families, possibly over time meet other families in your area if you're interested in that, and get all the help you need on the forums, again, at no cost. That's free to use. So I think that gives you a good idea of what we're seeking to accomplish in this high school program, even though I've talked about more than that. You can see the simplicity of the high school courses, and as I said, today I finished all of the freshman year with students coming up through that, and I'm going to begin preparing all of the sophomore content, which I'll get started over the summer and then continue to work on throughout the next school year. And we'll just go like that for the next 3 years, and then the whole program will be finished, God helping us. And in the future, I'll just continue to revise and improve and figure out where any rough edges are in these courses and make it more and more convenient for the students over time. But that's, I think, everything you need to know about our high school program, how it works, and how it can help you as a Catholic homeschooling parent. Now, in addition to that, you might have seen this little preview down here. I'm also in the process of developing a grade school program which accomplishes much of the same things for the younger grades. We don't recommend grade levels for homeschooling. It doesn't make any sense, and it actually becomes a distraction. But because some families live in places where the evaluation is more rigid, sometimes it's better just to kind of keep things looking ordinary to avoid trouble, and you still are free to add any other studies you want for the kids. But if we can present things in a simple way, in the form of grade levels, it may be good to do that. And we're working on making a complete grade 1 through 8 grade school curriculum available for the same reason that we're making the high school program available, to allow homeschool families to separate these two things, these minimum state requirements on one side, just to get that stuff done and out of the way, and also to keep themselves free to pursue real classical Catholic studies without having to choose one or the other. So that's going to begin opening up this summer, God willing, and we'll continue to develop over time. So in addition to that, there's all of these other courses, over 90 courses, trivium, quadrivium, philosophy, theology, humanities, history and literature, modern studies, math and sciences, and so on. All of these courses are available in the Academy, and there's just one fee. It's a monthly student subscription for $25 a month, and then there are additional services available if you want more help planning your children's tasks, tutoring help, things like that. All of that stuff's available, and those additional services can become affordable when we take this ridiculous tuition cost of general admission out of the way. So hopefully we've got a plan here that benefits all Catholic families, makes all of this efficient and affordable, and allows us to keep focusing on the real goals in education, to give God what is God's, while we simultaneously give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So if you have any questions, just get in touch with me. I'm always available. You can email me at mail@classicalliberalarts.com. You can give us a call. The phone number is right at the top of the Academy website. If you go to classicalliberalarts.com, our phone number is right here at the top of the website, 909-281-7025. So you can give us a call. You can email us. You can get on those forums and ask all the questions you want. Whatever you need to do, we're available to help. Another option down here on the website, you see there's this support widget where you can check our help center for any articles that have already answered questions you might have, or chat with us. All of this stuff is available. So there's plenty of help. We've made this simple for you as Catholic homeschool parents. We've made it affordable for you, and hopefully you can get things figured out and make use of these tools to make your homeschooling more enjoyable for you as a parent, but also for the kids so they don't get penalized for homeschooling. I hope that's helpful. God bless your studies.